Throughout history, man has diversified agricultural models based on the premises of soil care and environmental protection. One of these models is organic or biological agroecology, which is a system of cultivation of an autonomous farm, based on the optimal use of natural resources without the use of synthetic chemicals or genetically modified organic products. In this way, organic food is obtained while preserving the fertility of the soil, respecting the environment in a sustainable and balanced way. Agroecology, a healthier and more sustainable agriculture. This model of production agriculture, in addition to contemplating includes in its philosophy the improvement of the living conditions of its practitioners, so that its objective is to achieve the integral sustainability of the agricultural production system. That is, to become a socially, ecologically, and economically sustainable agro-system. Agroecology is a science that studies the design and management of agricultural systems and agroecosystems. In search of what? In the search for spaces that are sustainable, that are economically viable, that are socially just, and that are in balance with the environment, with all the components that surround an ecosystem. Whether it is the soil, the crops, or all the insects, it is a science that studies as part of the structure and function of each agroecosystem. One thinks that it emerged, but this science, throughout life, farmers and people of past generations have been working on it. In the past, there were no chemical products, there were no implements to the land, and it was always done in a natural way. Healthy products were used to manage pests, to manage soil fertility. Then, agroecology comes from all those ancestral principles. It compiles all that traditional information, where food sovereignty is sought, that the systems are self-sustainable. It seeks to manage soil fertility and healthy products from the same place. It seeks to manage pests in an integral way. In short, agroecology integrates everything and thus achieves the sustainability of agricultural system. To learn about a crop based on this system, we traveled to the municipality of Carmen de Viboral in eastern Antigua in Colombia, where the crop is established, a place where they work for the good care of the soil and the environment that surrounds it. Let's see then the best way to work under this model of agroecology. When we left the university, what we did was to lease a piece of land and set up a strawberry project. Then we came to this farm, La Granja Feliz, and we came here. We continued with the strawberry, in which we have done well, and we are not complaining because it is a good conventional product. We work with pesticides and we already have good practices. Then the child was born. We had a baby girl and we were very aware that those products were not healthy. Then in this place, such a beautiful space, in the countryside and enclosing the girl because we were fumigating, something very beautiful happened, which I always like to tell, and that is that nature took care of showing us that we were wrong. A hailstorm finished our strawberries, and from there we decided to make a change. We had nothing and we started from scratch. We threw away the poisons, threw away all the jars and started planting. But it was a change because of the girl and listening to nature that told us that we were a bit stuck, and from there we started with the change exactly 4.5 years ago. It was very difficult because in the end we did not have much knowledge of organic farming. We tried to visit many farms and many producer friends. We did not see something that fulfilled us or that we could say, well, this really works. I do not see production for a living, but there were very home gardens, people with their work, but they had their garden. But then I did not see anything as productive. But we took the risk. We started planting for the family first. We have family. We have mothers, we have brothers and sisters. Let's start selling to them. The adaptation was difficult because the yields were not the best. The lettuces were always very small, the broccoli was not a good size, and the quality also suffered a lot because we did not know how organic agriculture really worked. But we had a lot of patience, which I think was the advantage we had, was the patience we had to wait for 2 years, to be able to have adequate yields and see that from that stage to now, the yields have been very good, and we have seen improvements in many things, in soils, in climate, in birds, in ourselves, in our food, and reaching a point where we are producing almost 80% of our food, which is like our base. First, we eat ourselves and sell our surplus. As we could see above, the change of production system was not easy. But in addition to this, another series of difficulties appeared that still affect them and have turned this into a permanent struggle to keep the crop in good condition. The biggest difficulties we had, we still have difficulties in the environment, because in the environment there are still conventional production lands. So we have our neighbours who still work with their pesticides. They are working with what they know is good, so we have to try to plant other types of trees that make a barrier, but they are very slow things. That environment has been difficult, but we are going with it. It is slow, but we are going with it. The economic difficulty. We started with 20,000 pesos, but we had the advantage that the land was ours. We had a cart to distribute the products, and that helped us a lot. Although I think the difficulty I have seen has been like that. The other, suddenly, has been the seeds. Since we depend a lot on seeds for companies, because Colombian legislation does not allow us to work with native seeds, which generates many difficulties in obtaining this type of seeds. As for people's consumption, we are not very used to this type of food, but we consume many plants and vegetables that are not from us. Currently, in traditional agriculture, a large amount of toxic residues from pesticides, insecticides, synthetic fertilizers, additives, and preservatives are used in order to eliminate insects or pests and fight diseases, which in the medium and long term generate difficulties in the functioning of our organism. As they do not contain artificial substances, foods from organic farming are correctly assimilated by the body without altering metabolic functions. It is very important to work with organic crops because since the existence of the Green Revolution package, based on the excessive use of monocultures and agrochemicals, it began to be observed that many people from the point of view of health were affected and suffered from cancerous diseases. As such, environments began to degrade in all senses. Plant biodiversity was no longer the same, animal biodiversity was not the same, and ecosystems began to suffer damage. Soils began to degrade in the physical, chemical, and biological properties that are the basis of their life. In this way, these systems tend to be productive until a certain time. They reach a point where the yields begin to decline. Production is not sustainable and in balance with the nature of producing the land in an agroecological way, where the farmer does not have to depend on chemical inputs, but tries to look for inputs from the farm itself, and that it does not cost so much money to look for them outside, but that it is self-sustainable, that it is able to sustain itself with what it has within the system, feed the land, maintain the plant and animal balance. So, I would say that these people who use conventional products and monocultures are doing it, because they have no other choice or because at that moment they saw that line of research, looking for yields. But in this case, organic production is the most resilient and balanced way with the environment, and it is the one that we should all take, because we all like to eat healthy food, we all like to enjoy the air, breathe healthy air, enjoy the diversity of butterflies, crickets and biota that exist in the soil, and that the soils are fertile. If these factors are not working in this way, nature degrades and the system in general gets out of control, then the best way to guide us towards a healthy food production in balance with nature is agroecological production. Although it is not a very expensive crop, this is a clear example of good organic crop management. Small farmers help to conserve the environment and avoid contamination of land, water, and air. Let's see what we can find in this crop, and let's learn about the management of the varieties of vegetables that are planted. At this moment, we have counted more or less 46 productive species. Normally, many are for home consumption. We have 9 kinds of lettuce: Batavia lettuce, ball lettuce, romaine, green and purple oak leaves, green crespa, purple crespa, green smoothie lettuce, purple smooth lettuce, and some escarole. We also have carrots. The carrots we handle hybrids. They are very good. We have Creole spinach, white and purple egg onions, red onions, leeks, beets, cilantro, chard. All the vegetables grow well here. The management that we are giving at this moment in La Granja Feliz is very nice, because what we have done is to look for the old people, the ancestors, the people who know how they used to work, and that is what we have done, to take up those old ideas since they did not have pesticides before. So, we take up this type of work again. At the time of making the errors, what you do is to make a deep hole, in order to put all the weeds that are on top, and this weed becomes a fertilizer. I call it a raw fertilizer, because I'm not composting it or anything. Only that when you put it there, it will rot and it will become a fertilizer to improve the soil structure. I work everything bed on meter. I do everything the same. Whether it is beans, carrots, onions, lettuce, everything goes on a bed, on beds. We have learned the planting distances. So much trial and error in lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots. But the secret I have seen is to leave in this type of soil or this type of vegetable cover without having to kill them. Here we can see that I have a lot of diversity, and by having so much diversity, I have a lot of life. A lot of insects that help to maintain the balance in the crop. That is what I do. We do not kill anything and we balance everything. The parts of the inputs that I handle here in the house are elaborated by ourselves here. All this we have consulted with friends, in books, with trial and error. I normally have some fertilization products such as bokashi phosphite, which serves as edaphic fertilization that goes directly to the soil. We have some products that help me to repel insects and control fungi, such as sulfophalethic, ash broth, and M5. These are the inputs that I use, and with these products, it helps me to make a control every 8 days and do a repel, with products that in the end are not so bad, but you have to balance them a little. Love and responsibility are also part of the good management of agroecological systems, and these are values that David and the people who work with him incorporate into this crop on a daily basis. In order to sustain a good crop, the secret is to give it a little love. The people that I work with, that is, what I emphasize that sometimes we look for some agility, but the secret has to be the love that we put in the plants. They themselves feel quite a lot and find that we are touching them and perceiving them with them. We have also done an investigation of what is sold, how much is sold, and we have been planting what is consumed. Normally a planting is every 8 days, and with that we are able to sustain the market. Organic agriculture is the most respectful with the fauna, the one that generates a lower pollution of aerosols, produces less carbon dioxide, prevents the greenhouse effect, does not generate polluting waste, and helps to save energy and governments, since in the cultivation and processing of products, renewable resources are used to the maximum. All agroecological techniques based on agroecological principles, among their main keys. The first is to conserve the environment, is that the system is environmentally healthy. One maintains a balance of the system, and each component of the system will be able to provide the food that one requires, and the environment will remain healthy. The ozone layer will not continue to be affected, because when one does deforestation, applies chemicals, that poison and that indiscriminate felling of trees or that intensive burning that they do. I believe that there are many ways to demonstrate that agroecology is the only way to maintain the balance of the environment, because just by not applying chemicals, we are thanking and helping nature a lot. Since these chemicals affect everything, and it is necessary that everyone becomes aware of this change. Agroecological production and consumption aim to create alternatives to the global market controlled by large corporations, establishing a direct exchange between the producer and the consumer at the local level. So David wanted to extend the invitation for people to learn about other production models that protect the environment, gave some tips, and even talked about the future of this type of crops. We have always wanted to be very influential. We usually open the doors of our house to show our neighbours other productive systems, although they are still reluctant to know, but I have tried to stimulate that. The visit, so that they see that this produces, this serves, and that it sells well, but that everything depends on a lot on us, and we do not depend on third parties. I believe that the fundamental thing is to open the doors. There will be times when they will be encouraged, and we can show them that this type of work we do so that we can help them with marketing, because we have our clients and there is a lack of product to improve the volume of products. There are still many things missing and give a little more stability to the matter. This is very gratifying because what we plant gives us very well. We have also had good yields, and these yields can be much higher than conventional agriculture. There are still some problems in some products, but the yields have been very high in quality, in size, in beauty, in freshness, and everything is growing, and it feels very pleasant. Besides, we have seen that customers are very grateful, and they are always very attentive to tell us thank you, and say that they are very nice, that we do a beautiful job, because more than a food we are giving is health, because from here is where healthy part from home, food, that has changed our lives, our food, production, and excites us, because we do not see ourselves doing anything other than organic agriculture. When customers want to consume organic food, I think we must get rid of the idea that it is expensive. There are products that can be the same or increase a little. It is based on what it costs us. We must get out of the myth that no one can eat this. and that if people want, they should look for the most appropriate chain, look for what we want to have, and they will realize that organic food products taste better, last longer in the fridge at home, and have good quality. The difference here is that we do not do classification. We have a small potato and a bigger one, so they go mixed. It is also to change the habit of what the market taught us, that if the potato is big, the potato is better. If the tomato is nice, it is better. And it is not always so. We must change the vision that the big things are the most beautiful and the small is bad. You can have a mixture of everything, but with good quality and still be a very apparent product. This type of agriculture has a greatest future because now the productions in Colombia are too low and the food per person is little. So I think we have to grow. We have to do the work to show it. And that it is not only useful in high strata, but we can all consume it. It is raw and there is much to do to learn and work. The future is all about agroecology. I believe it is the salvation of the planet because agroecology is a science that allows us to study the structure and function of systems, that ensures that systems are self-sustaining and resilient. With 2 million people worldwide dying of hunger, I believe that agroecology is the only science that will make food sovereignty possible for all peoples. Many schools are being created, many innovation and development and research centers where the necessary studies are being done to demonstrate that the salvation from climate change, the salvation from balance is the agro system, and to have an economically viable, environmentally healthy, and socially just environment is agroecology. Therefore, I see the future of agroecology as a salvation of the planet and of all the agricultural systems we have today, and it is the only way to prevent hunger from continuing to wipe out everything worldwide, because that is the reality.